The modern Democratic Party are hypocrites. I don't say that as some sort of blanket insult as the left does towards anyone who isn't woke, but rather that they act as a hypocrite does. They speak like a hypocrite does. They welcome all under their umbrella, but only so long as you obey their tenets. Doesn't that seem like a problem to you? How can a democratic political party exist without any foundation in religion, but to allow a religion to exist under their democracy? Well, they can't, because their tenets are their religion, and any god, be it from Christians, Jews, or Muslims, must be subservient to democratic ideals. In this case, it's Christianity. They will use Christians. They'll tell you that you're one of the good ones, but in the end, if you have any belief that they dislike, they will immediately stab you in the back and kick you off a cliff. And guess what? All of those big religions don't really coincide very much with the left wing. In fact, they're rather antithetical to their beliefs. As seen in example A, the top commentator says, "My religion says I can't." Democrat says, "Fine." "My religion says you can't." Democrat says, "Go F yourself." That's right. Democrats are completely intolerant towards anyone except for a Democrat. And even then, not really. By the way, this is disingenuous. It says, "My religion says you can't," but it's actually a father saying that their 5-year-old child can't. You see the response of this. It gets tricky at "My religion says my kid can't," but they don't actually follow this up. They just start calling the father a bigoted douchebag and then say their child is going to grow up to be a bigoted douchebag because their poor child didn't get a proper education. A proper education being teaching 5-year-olds about LGBTQ people. Because it's very important that 5-year-olds know that LGBTQ people exist. Right. Well, the father, in the court documents listed as Alan L., is a devout Christian who's trying to keep their 5-year-old son from being taught LGBTQ stuff at kindergarten level curriculum at the Joseph Estabrook Elementary School, where his son, JL, is enrolled. And it says it's unclear as to whether JL was ever actually exposed to the two books his father took issue with, Suzanne Lang's Families, 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 and Alexandra Penfold's All Are Welcome, that are part of the kindergarten curriculum. 8 additional books are cited that do not appear to have ever been used in the classrooms, according to Meta, and that is way too far down. Here we have the people saying that the student was never even exposed to the 2 books, and we don't know if that's true or not. There's really no way to prove it, especially because it's at kindergarten level, so you can't really trust what the kindergartners are saying. But they complain that this is not like a student with a peanut allergy where the implementation of accommodation to protect the student is reasonably clear. The schools are burdened enough without having to scour pages of a storybook for potentially gay-appearing characters. At what point, for instance, is a character's haircut too short to presume they are a woman? Are 2 men sitting together at a restaurant presumed to be gay? And so on and so forth. I completely agree that there's a limit to like how much you can complain, but I think with a storybook, there's like a pretty clear narrative, and it's titled Families, Families, Families. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is about teaching kids that they have 2 mommies, they have 2 daddies, and crap like that. At which, as an aside here, there it is. So someone responds, "Why do you want a 5-year-old learning about sexual preferences and sexual identities?" And someone responds with, "When you tell your 5-year-old why someone else has 2 moms, are you telling them about the sex life of their parents?" Yes. Yes, you are. That's the entire reason that they're gay. They're gay because they're having sex with someone who's the same gender as them. Is that confusing to you? Or do you not understand that? I mean, that's literally the entire point of it. It's actually the entire thing is about sex. That's literally what it is. It's about having sex with people, which is part of why it's so annoying and so improper to teach little kids about it. 5-year-olds should not be learning about sex. They shouldn't be taught about anything like this, regardless if it's hetero or not. But moving on, despite the claims that he had never been exposed to it, the father continued to claim that the classroom instructed him and promoted this sexualized ideological messaging contrary to his family's faith, and so he has the right to both be notified before his son is exposed to such material and to opt his son out of the material that normalizes or promotes LGBTQ identities or lifestyles. And you know there's a lot of comments angry about that, but just to be clear, I'm not against being gay or trans or anything like that. I'm not against it at all. I'm against teaching children about it, but I'm not against it. It's still not normal. By definition, heterosexuality must be normal because humans can't procreate through gay sex. That's just common sense, all right? That's all I'm talking about here. But a lot of people got really triggered in the comment section about using the word normalize there. So the district lawyers argued that the materials in question merely acknowledged and teach the existence of LGBTQ plus people, and insofar as they contain a moral lesson, it is geared towards mere tolerance, i.e., the acceptance of those who are different from us as being part of our world. Like you'd expect this sort of speech from a Redditor or a Blue Sky user or something, right? People out protesting ICE, but for a lawyer to be sitting here saying the existence of LGBTQ plus people, mere tolerance, God, they love this kind of speech, don't they? This self-victimizing. No one out here is saying that gay people don't exist. It's not like they're casting spells like, ooh, there's no such thing as gay people. Read the Bible. No one's doing that. You want to know why it's wrong to teach 5-year-olds about being gay? It's because they are easily brainwashed, especially by colors and stuff, which is a huge part of LGBTQ. Bright, bold colors very easily brainwash kids. That's why they're used in a lot of candy and ice cream and cartoons and toys. Kids love that crap. And kids don't need to be taught about being gay when they're 5. I mean, like, being gay is intrinsically tied to sex. Like, that's kind of like the main point of it. They can say love as much as they want, but it's not really about love. Now, ask yourself, who's out there teaching 5-year-olds about men and women getting married? No one. No one's teaching them that. No one's saying, oh, heterosexual people exist. Here we're going to have this book that teaches you that heterosexual people exist. Like, why are we doing this? Well, we know why they're doing it. They're brainwashing children so that the children will grow up and be democratic foot soldiers. They use the word merely twice in the definition here. That's how victimized they are. And merely acknowledge gay people. Merely have tolerance towards us. There's no immorality in a 5-year-old's mind. They don't understand the concept of tolerance or intolerance. You're teaching them what you want them to know. Not necessarily what their parents want them to know. Not necessarily what's right or wrong. What you want them to know. You, who have been entrusted to teach them as a custodian for the school, for the state, whatever. You are an adult teaching a child, a 5-year-old in this case, what you think they should know, which is grooming. And in this particular case, you are not their parent, so you have no right to teach them morality. Here we see this is falling squarely under the precedent set by the Supreme Court's June 2025 ruling of Mahmoud versus Taylor, which established a parent's First Amendment right to opt their children out of classroom instruction that includes LGBTQ plus characters and themes. I'm sure there are tons of Redditors who love to go on and on about their amendments in the Constitution regarding ICE, who would love to deny that, probably under the concept that it happened in 2025, which means that it happened under the ruling of Trump's regime, and Trump isn't really the president. Therefore, this First Amendment change shouldn't be real, and it's bad and wrong, wrong. So the judge, Dennis Saylor, and this is a judge appointed by the Bush administration, says the question presented here is not whether the viewpoints of the plaintiff or of the school officials are correct as a matter of religious faith or political or social belief, nor is it whether the materials should be part of the kindergarten curriculum for other students. Instead, the case presents a narrow question of whether these specific defendants have provided the required notice and opportunity to review materials that this specific plaintiff may find objectionable so that he may opt his child out of the classroom instruction that violates his religious belief. So this isn't about crushing LGBTQ. It's not even about changing the curriculum of the school. This is exclusively and entirely about this one guy not getting the opportunity to opt his kid out of what he was being taught. The kid was being taught. Now, there is the concept of the kid being in some independent course, and everyone's unsure whether or not he was even taught the book. But my point here is that the Redditors reacting to this, hell, the fact that it's even posted on LGBTQ Nation, they're acting as if they're being oppressed. Like, this is the government cracking down on LGBTQ and trying to oust them or something. That's not even the way the judge defined it. It's just one guy getting the opportunity, whether or not he wants to opt his kid out. That's all it is. And the last part of the article I'm going to cover is this. The lawyers for the Lexington Public School said that they were going to aggressively defend against these claims, citing the Mahmoud 2025 decision and saying that it made clear that depicting the mere existence of potentially offensive values or lifestyles is not enough to warrant an opt-out, and that it is the messaging associated with those potentially offensive materials that determines whether an opt-out is warranted. Oh god, I think I've said it 3 times now, or this will be the 3rd time I've said it now in this one video. Being gay is about having gay sex. It's not about being in love. It's not about platonic love or anything. It's about having gay sex. That's what it boils down to. If you weren't having sex, then there'd be just platonic love, right? The sex part is what it's about. That's the messaging. The messaging of 2 people of the same gender being married together, being in a sexual relationship together is sex. That's what it is. They're not friends. They're having sex. That's what it is. That's the message. That's the message you send. You're saying, I'm proud that I have sex with someone of the same gender as me. That's what the message is. Gay sex. So, if depicting the messaging associated with potentially offensive material determines whether an opt-out is warranted, I mean, first of all, how do you even judge what is and isn't offensive in this case? Like, you may as well just concede that everything LGBTQ related is warranting an opt-out. Otherwise, all you're doing is asking for people to put definitions to it, as I just did, and that ultimately is probably going to be a negative for LGBTQ because it's going to be a wide net that's cast. The reason this topic is so frustrating is that there's no winning this argument because these people are their own heroes. They will do unbelievable mental gymnastics to make their nonsense make sense to them. I mean, look at this comment. I wonder, if the law says you can opt your kid out of LGBTQ inclusive lessons, does that not mean that you can also sue the school for teaching straight inclusive lessons? And what exactly would a straight inclusive lesson be? Mathematics? History? Science? Literature? What's a straight inclusive lesson? I mean, outside of sex ed, you're not taught anything about sex in schools. And your parents, at least when I was a kid, had the capacity to opt you out of sex ed. Something that a lot of the comments here are mocking. Oh, the stupid Republicans, they'll take their kids out of sex ed and they'll learn on the streets. Right. It's nice imagination you have there. I went to sex ed when I was like 12 or 13 or something. I don't remember exactly when. I certainly wasn't taught about being gay and trans when I was 5. That's just insane. And yet, I still know that gay people exist. No one needed to teach me that. Isn't that strange? Maybe it's because I have eyes and ears. Maybe it's because I'm part of the world. But I knew that trans people existed before someone wore a trans flag and marched themselves down the street, half naked, screaming through a megaphone about how proud of themselves they are. I knew those things, and I wanted to highlight a comment here. Here it is. I went to a very conservative private Christian school growing up. We didn't learn anything about LGBTQ, and yet somehow I'm still gay. Is this supposed to be some sort of own on Christians? Or the oppressive, repressive schooling? You just said that you weren't taught about LGBTQ, and yet you're still gay. In other words, teaching them about LGBTQ is unnecessary. That's what you've just said there. It's unnecessary. And at the end of the day, can't we all agree that teaching kids unnecessary things in a school is pointless? There are so many things kids learn in school that they never take into the real world. So many things they forget the instant they get out of school. I think we could all agree that teaching kids unnecessary things is unnecessary. So why are we teaching them those things? Well, I covered it already, didn't I? Brainwashing. Brainwashing to have them accept democratic ideals so that democratic presidents can get more votes. It's the same thing they did with women, girls, little girls, teaching them that all men were evil and that they were going to be essayed and all that, and now they're grown up, and now they're voting Democrats. And now they're all afraid of men. They hate everyone who won't bend knee to them, and that is definitely religious people. I mean, look at this retard. They're claiming it's legalized child abuse, and then they're doing what all of the Democrats are now doing. They're saying that we should record the names of everyone who offends us, even slightly, and hold them accountable when the regime change has happened. Yes, that's right. When Democrats take power in 2028, they're going to go find this father and tell him that he's not allowed to abuse his child by hiding the mere existence of transgendered and gay people from him, from his 5-year-old child. Yes, you're definitely one of the people who doesn't belong in an asylum because you're completely mentally stable. I'm just trying to point out the hypocrisy, you see. As an atheist myself, I don't want religion taught in public schools any more than I want LGBTQ taught there. But I, as an atheist who is not a Democrat nor a Republican, feel the need to point out the insanity of this interaction between Democrats and the religious, the weird melding of the two. We exist in an era where religion is becoming political. People no longer fear the punishment of a god in the afterlife. They fear social cancellation in the here and now. Disobey Democrats, and they will immediately punish you, as can be seen with these Redditors. And the religious seem to fear that more.